Good afternoon, everybody. I hope I didn't scare too many people away. My name is Rosemarie Ryan, and I'm actually from Galway. Graduated from Galway University many moons ago. And I started out initially as a teacher. And my passion was the whole area of careers and career guidance. And the wonderful thing is that I had a great mentor that basically fell out of the sky to me at the time, and it was through the Irish Institute of Training and Development, and his name was Chris Taylor. And it was through that mentoring that I actually was able to develop my own career in the direction that has brought me to where I am today, where I'm Director of Org Development in Chanelle Pharma. Now, how many people here have heard of Chanelle Pharma? Okay, that's a lot. That's great. So I joined Chanelle Pharma about 1.5 years ago, and what we do is we manufacture the most amazing products in healthcare for both animals and humans. And so what I've put up here is that Chanelle is proud to be Ireland's largest indigenous pharmaceutical company. It manufactures products for some of the world's leading multinationals, and as I said, we specialise in both animal and human healthcare. So these are just some of the countries that we supply our products to. We have roughly about 740 people that work for the company. We're based in Loughrea, County Galway. You can take a bus from just outside the door there out to Chanelle, which I do sometimes. We're very lucky in that we have the hybrid model. So most people have the opportunity, depending on what role they're in, they can do the hybrid model, which, is something that has become very important to certain types of roles. So, as I said, I joined about 18 months ago, and one of the first thing that I took a look at was the employee experience from day one. And I had a look at what we were doing already in induction, and it was fairly fine, it was okay. But for me, and with the number of years experience that I have, and also having a deep interest in the whole area of how to approach work from an holistic perspective. And what I mean by that is how we approach work in terms of we bring ourselves to work at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day. We are human, and we go into work and we spend, roughly 40 hours a week in this place where, we hope to bring our best selves. We hope that people will be nice to us, and we hope that we'll have the opportunity that we're going to grow. And so I looked at that, and we're so busy at the moment, and Mary Madden is here in the audience, and she's our Director of Talent Acquisition. And at the moment, we are hiring hand over fist. We have an induction day every 2 weeks, and we've been doing that for the last 1.5 years. So that means there's a lot of people that are coming in on a very regular basis, and they're all looking for a meaningful experience. So how do we do that? So I took a deep dive into what is it that we really need to hone in on in order to, first of all, to attract people, and I work very closely with Mary on that, and then what is it that we need to do in order to hold on to them. Because we all know that there's a war for talent at the moment. It's a great time, actually, to be a job seeker. People have lots and lots of choice. And so, therefore, it is really critical that we give people what it is that they need. And also, what I want to talk about later in the next few minutes is I want to talk about trust and the role that trust plays, both at work and in life. So the first 90 days is the critical part for building any good foundation when you come in to join a company. And so at Chanelle Pharma, we've put a lot of time into thinking about those first 90 days. So on the first day, like most multinationals, what we would do is we'll have a first induction day. And there are simple things that were possibly missed and can be possibly missed in some companies. And they're so simple, you mightn't even think that it would happen. But something that's really important is, because a number of I'd say more than 1/3 of our staff at the moment they're coming in from outside of Ireland. And I've lived, away from home a lot myself over the years. And I know that what's really important, that when you come into a place for the first time, is that you get a feeling that you matter and that people care about you. And so if you've travelled, a great distance, whether it's from Cork or Dublin, or even if you've just come out from Galway, or you've come from the other side of the world, if you've come from, say, India, or you've come from, someplace in Southeast Asia, what's really important, and again I go back to, you'd imagine that this would be, the most simple thing that you would think that people would remember, is that there is somebody that's there to meet and greet you. It's really important. And I don't know if you've ever had that experience where, you rock up on your first day at work and you're all excited about it, and, maybe the doorbell isn't working or you can't get into reception. That has happened to me in the past, and I see some people nodding where they're remembering back to that. Well, we don't let that happen in Chanelle. We are waiting for you. I can actually tell you that on the day that I started my job in Chanelle, that the chief people officer was actually out in the car park. She had everything except the red carpet. And I was actually so nervous on my first day of work that I was, well, not nervous, that's the wrong word to use. I was so excited that I was actually nearly late. And that's the God's honest truth. Anyway, I wasn't late. And she was out there, and she was with Cormac from Talent Acquisition, and they were waiting for me. And I knew that I had found home. I knew that I was in the right place. And that's the feeling that we want to give you when you come to Chanelle. And I am the person who looks after all of that. I look after your experience. I have an amazing team, and we've put a lot of new kind of ways of thinking about how we can approach this, which is the holistic approach. So the first 30 days is you come in, you do your first day, you learn about our mission, our vision, our values, and the history of Chanelle. Chanelle started out as a very small company. It was set up by a man who was a vet called Michael Burke. It was recently sold after, I think, 35 years of building a very successful business, and it is now owned by a company called Exponent. So we've gone through some change, but we are absolutely adamant that we will always hold on to the values that are most important to us, which is that you matter and we care and we want you to grow. So in those first 30 days, you meet the key stakeholders, you meet your own immediate team, you meet the leadership team and the cross-functional teams. And then you get, the first day, people come in, they go to the induction, there's like so much information that's being thrown at you. Everybody's like really excited, but I know to look at them because I go into the room to check that it's all going right over their head. And, it's a lot of information to take in, and it's only after you kind of start to settle in the first couple of weeks that the penny starts to drop and you start to get the real feel of, do I belong here? Is this the job that I thought it was? Is this like the bus that I want to be on? So there are all the sort of feelings that you start to get in the first couple of weeks. You get to understand the company culture and if it works for you. And because we're a pharma company, what's really important is we work in a highly regulated environment. And it's all about compliance, and it's very much all about trust and accountability. And I'm going to talk to you about that later. So in your first 30 days, you're introduced to your key tools, your systems, your processes. And one of the things that I speak about on the first day when you join Chanelle is we talk about trust. I am passionate about trust. Sometimes people don't think about trust at all until they're actually in a situation where trust has been broken. And what's very important for me when I am speaking on the first day, and feel free to take a picture of this because I absolutely love this. The original teaching around of this is from a professor, Brené Brown. She's from Texas University. She's written a lot of really good books, and one of her topics is on trust. So what I say to people is, when you join Chanelle, you're brand new to us. And we're brand new to you. And trust doesn't happen in a moment. Trust is something that is built up on a slow basis. Okay? And that's, it's not like, very often we go through life and it's all, with blind trust. But when you come into a new workplace, we're checking you out and you're checking us out. So how does that work? Well, how it works is, I want you to imagine marbles in a jar. And every time that you do something that gives us the message, this is somebody that feels and looks like they're really great to work with. This is somebody who said that they would do something, and now they're actually doing it. Each time that happens, you're putting a marble in the jar. And it works both ways. If we said that we were going to give you that great experience, we have to do what we said that we would do. And again, that goes back to my role, where I will advocate for the new hire and the employee as they move forward with us and start to build a career. So this marbles in the jar, for me, is always my frame of reference in the way that I do my job. The thing about the number of marbles in the jar is that if something goes wrong, say you make a mistake, and we all slip up every now and then, where not intentionally, but something happens and something goes wrong, and you might disappoint somebody, or they might disappoint you. But the thing is that if you have enough marbles in the jar, you'll be able to navigate that, and people will navigate it with you. But if there are no marbles in the jar, that's where it's tricky. So what's really important is that in your first 90 days, I want you to be always thinking about, what is it that I can do to show people that I can be trusted? But we as a company need to be thinking about, what is it that we need to be doing in order to show people that they can trust us? Does that make sense? So the other piece that I would be passionate about is the area of psychological safety. And psychological safety has become a real buzzword. And, at the end of the day, psychological safety it's a word that, that was coined by Amy Edmondson. I actually went to see her last year at the Institute of Training and Development conference. She was absolutely fantastic. But at the end of the day, it's things like, remember that there is no silly question when it comes to learning and to finding your feet. And I think that very often when people come in and they join a new company, that what can happen is that they're afraid to ask a question, because they're afraid of things like, imposter syndrome, that they're going to get found out, that people will think, oh God, she's not as good as she said she was. Those kind of feelings. Now, what we do in Chanelle is we make it very, very clear from the outset that there is a point of contact for you in whichever department you go into, so that if you're a little bit shy about asking questions, that person is there to help you out. And the other thing is that we in learning and development are there 100% for you to come to us with any question that you have, and it is 100% confidential. And we will even act as the go-between between you and your manager if you want us to have a chat with them confidentially. So it works really, really well. So that's, to me, what psychological safety is about. I have had some amazing employers, some amazing managers, and I've had some okay employers and managers. And so it has been my dream to kind of bring all of the learnings that I've had over the year and to bring it to Chanelle and to be able to run with those learnings. And I'm really grateful and thankful that I have been given that opportunity to do it. As I said, I have a great manager. She's the Chief People Officer, and she lets me run with whatever I want to do because she trusts me. There was enough marbles in the jar. So, let me see. That should not go like that. The clicker. Oh, here we go. 30-60, learning the role. So, first one is understanding expectations and setting clear goals. Regardless of where you go to work or where you are working, one of the pieces of advice that's absolutely critical is always be clear on what the expectations are. Don't be beating around the bush wondering what it is that you're supposed to be doing, because then you're working on guesswork. Try and get it clear from probably after about a month. What is it that the expectation is here so that you can be set up for success? And that is something that we work really closely with the managers with in Chanelle, is help the managers to have those great conversations with their new hires on what the expectations are for the job. Now, the thing is that, you know, at the moment where companies are scaling up really fast and things change and there's a lot of moving pieces, sometimes the expectation is one thing one day and then the next day it's something else. That's okay, as long as you have the tools in order to navigate that. It's important. Also, something I'd feel very strongly about is delegation. So there's a huge difference between delegating something to someone and dumping something to somebody where they haven't a clue what it is that they're supposed to be doing and yet might be afraid to say, I'm not really clear what this expectation is. So that brings me back to the psychological safety again. We use the 70-20-10 training model, which is mostly 70% of learning on the job, with the good foundation of the 20% where you learned it in the classroom, and then the 10% is a lot of self-learning, where we'll actually give you the tools for that self-learning. So it takes a lot of courage sometimes to be able to work with that model, but again, if you have the support from the manager and the colleagues and the learning and development team, it will work well. Something I'd be very strong about as well is having the opportunity that once you go into like a formal learning course, that you can transfer it in a very short time back in the workplace. And what we do is we do a measurement before and after the training. So say, for example, you learn how to have career conversations, for example. That would be something that would be on our academy. So you learn how to have a really great career conversation in theory, but then you have to go back and you actually have to have that conversation with your manager. So what I would always advise is try and bring the learning to the floor as soon as possible. What we do also is we do a measurement where we always ask before any training, regardless of what it is, it doesn't matter what it is. I try to get the metric always of, on a scale of 1 to 5, where are you on your knowledge of how to do this particular task? And then afterwards, straight away, when the actual theory, the theoretical course is done, where are you now on it? And then we go back out and we check 30 days out, 60 days out, and 90 days out. Where are you now with it? So that you're constantly nurturing that learning that you've had. Otherwise, it's going to get lost. The 60 to 90 building momentum, this is where you start to take ownership of your role and accountability. And it's really important to understand what accountability means. Accountability is knowing that you and you alone are responsible for building the trust around your job with your employer. That's what it is. And in order to do that, you need to also have that psychological safety where if things are, you know, if they ever, you know, go belly up and you've made a mistake, is to have that psychological safety and the trust with your team and the manager to be able to hold yourself accountable and to go and say, I actually made a mistake. So you can see how this is all about the trust and psychological safety. And it's easier said than done because it takes a village. It takes a village to actually get to that point. So it means that everybody has to be on the same wavelength. Everybody has to be of that same mind. And sometimes it just takes 1 or 2 people to come in and to maybe flip it the other way and change it all, you know, in a direction that you don't want it to go. And that's why we have to be the gatekeepers of our culture. And that's what we do in HR and learning and development, and that's what we do in our leadership development training. We train people how to be the gatekeepers, to keep it the way and to grow it the way that we want the company to be. There are good days and bad days. There are days when it's not the way that you wanted it to be, and then you have to get it right back to where you did want it to be originally. So it's a work in motion. And so you have to have everybody on board, and you have to have everybody, like, it's called systems thinking, where at the end of the day, regardless if you're the person who's driving the trucks, or you're on reception, or you're the research and development person, or you're the vet, or you're the doctor, whatever level you're at, it doesn't matter. But we're all in it together, and we're all creating products that are, you know, making a huge difference in the lives of people and animals. So then we have our ongoing professional development, and these are, we've got a fantastic selection of courses and workshops and certifications. And then once you're in, you know, for roughly about 3 months, you start to look then at your 6 to 12 month plan, or we do. So this is where the big difference happened. We do what's called a 30, 60, 90-day check-in. So we made you the big promise. You came in, you did your one-day induction, and then you went out onto the floor. And the hope is that we'll all live happily ever after. So what happens is that after the first 30 days, but actually we used to do our first check-in in 30 days, but now what we've started doing is we've actually started doing it a little bit earlier. We're actually doing it about 2 weeks earlier as well. So we use our intuition into when we, what's going to work best in this particular department. So we go in and we get the information. And as somebody said to me, but do you do anything with that information? We certainly do. So we get the insights and what we're really interested in, not so much on what isn't working well, but what is working well so that we can do more of it. I'm a real believer in positive intention. So rather than like getting down in the weeds with all the stuff that isn't working, let's really have a look at what is working, and we're going to give loads of that to people. And so we do this 30 days in, 60 days in, 90 days in. It's fantastic. It works a treat because it means then that our training and our induction can be what's called iterative. So every time when we go to deliver a course, every 2 weeks, we do something different. We build on the old one and we make it better. So it's just, we never get tired of it. Somebody said to me once, like, when is the training going to be finished? When are you going to get it right? And I said, it'll never be finished. It will never be finished because there's always a different story to work on. So the key engagement factors that we see, and these are very basic, there is like, I don't know if there's any big aha moment here, but these are very human factors that impact the employee engagement. The first one is feeling welcome, having a point of contact, as in somebody that I can ask questions of, and having the resources and tools to do my job. That is really important. I can't say that we do it every single time. I can't, like, hand on heart. Like, sometimes there might be a laptop that's a bit late coming or whatever, but that is a really bad vibe when that happens. And then we do something about it, and we try our best that it will never happen again. Okay? But we're very conscious of it. There's nothing is done in a careless manner. Every single thing is thought through. As I said, we have a lot of people who come from abroad. Something that I would be very conscious of is that, somebody might have travelled, from the other side of the world on a Saturday, and they're coming in on a Monday, and they could be absolutely, dying of loneliness, that they've just left their family behind. We have to consider, what dietary requirements people might have, for the first day when we do our onboarding lunch. We need to consider, there's a lot of things that we need to consider. We need to consider people might be very tired when they come in, that they've maybe just got in on the Saturday, as I said, and they're still, like dead man walking by the Monday. There's a lot of stuff that we have to consider. So regular feedback on performance, I think feedback is a gift. But again, we spend a lot of time training our supervisors and our managers on how to give feedback. It is a skill. And also the other skill that goes with that is how to take feedback. That is really important, how to take it. Some people are very nervous of it. They need people to dance around them. Not everybody will dance around you. And so, again, it's something that we really spend a lot of time in training our managers in. And something here that we hear a lot is, in our feedback, what we get every single time is our employees will say to us, I feel like I'm growing. And that's what I want. Because the growth mindset is the only mindset to have. To always feel like we're here for a certain number of years on this earth. So why not just have your mind growing all the time, learning new things, because the opposite of it isn't really a great experience. And then having a sense of where I fit in and align with the bigger picture. So what is it that I can do in this role that's going to make me feel like I'm making a difference? So beyond the 90 days then, we continue with the regular performance reviews, the feedback sessions. You get an opportunity then, because we have 6 buildings out there with like a whole number of different departments. So there's huge opportunity to collaborate with all of the other departments. Lots of movement around. After a period of time, lots of people will move between departments. And then we have a mentorship program that is in the making. Right now we've started our buddy program, and we have a mentorship program that's in the making. And we have huge ongoing professional development. We partner with University Galway, all the ITs, I call them, but the Atlantic Technology Universities, we have a lot of work that we've put in the last year in putting anybody that is training or coaching or showing anybody how to do something. They cannot do it unless they have been qualified in a train the trainer. So we have officially accredited all of our people who are subject matter experts who go to show anybody anything, they qualify as trainers first. So that's a really great plus. And then we have here, in our support systems, as I said, we have the manager-employee check-ins with continuous coaching. We're working very hard towards bringing a coaching culture into the company. We are about to start to bring in the GROW model, where we're going to equip every single supervisor and eventually every employee to understand what coaching is. And eventually we will have that whole mindset again of the coaching mindset. So HR support and resources, really important. We have just introduced a new wellbeing program. It's like another pillar of my role. There are 9 pillars that are part of the wellbeing program. It's a huge initiative. It will look at everything from mental wellbeing to making sure that everybody has the right resources in order to do their job. We have a fabulous gym on site. We do a lot of work in community social responsibility, where we have a choir that's called Chanelle Voices. We go out to the local nursing homes. We raise a few bob at Christmas for charity. Mary, who's in the audience here, is an ex-Riverdance dancer, and she dances the legs off herself when we go out to the nursing home, and people are very impressed with her. And we literally, the thing about Chanelle is that we have great fun, and we make it great fun. Because that's just the way we are. You know, it's a great bunch of people who just want to make it a great place to work. So we give anybody that needs it, we give them access to the industry networks and external mentorship, for example, supply chain, the pharmaceutical industries, the pharma accreditations. All of that is available to you from 6 months on. So as I said, we are a learning organisation, and one of the pieces, I'm going to wrap up now in 2 minutes, one of the pieces that we have is that we've built is the Chanelle Academy. So our Chanelle Academy, the most recent piece that we've done is with IBEC and Dublin University, as we have put and accredited every single people manager and aspiring people manager through this programme, and it has been amazing. And we are now just in the process of measuring it, and we have a big graduation coming up in the next month or two, which is going to be really exciting to see everybody graduate with their supervisor skills. The one thing that I'm going to finish up on here is the concept of mattering. And this is a part of my psyche that never leaves me. And I really try to bring it to work. And the mattering matters. So it's based on the psychological theory that mattering is linked to our sense of self-worth. And I think that if every employer in the country could remember this, that when people come into work, that they are not just dealing with people who are coming in to do a day's work. They are human beings who are coming into work, who want to make a difference, want to make a buck, want to put some food on the table, pay for the hairdresser, whatever it is. But they also want to feel that they matter. And the employees who feel that they matter are more engaged and motivated and commitment. It drives collaboration, innovation and productivity. It boosts morale and workplace culture, and it fosters a positive environment. We do it by recognizing and appreciating people, by giving meaningful work, having inclusive leadership and personal connection. And the note that I'm going to finish up on is there are 2 things that I am passionate about my whole life that I bring into the org development, and that is happiness and engagement. And the one thing that I do know is that the engagement piece, where you get the opportunity to do things that you're really good at, the engagement piece comes from the head. That's the brain part, you know, where you're allowed to do what you're good at. But that the happiness part comes from the heart. That is the happiness part. And the heart part is about the relationships and the connections. And I promise you that if you ever work in Chanelle, that we will do our absolute best to help you to feel both. Thank you very much.